A couple weeks ago, I made a video about how Ohio State can break the NFL draftee record in the 2025 NFL Draft. Georgia has a shot too. The Bulldogs might have missed the playoffs last year, but with how many NFL talents they have on their roster, this team could break their own record. If you're new, subscribe to the channel as I will be releasing draft content all year long. But for now, I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to Georgia is Recharged and Ready to Go. Enjoy. Georgia has 13 players ranked inside the current draft order on Mock Draft Database. They get off to the hottest start possible. The consensus number one quarterback in this draft class is also the best player in this entire Georgia draft class. Senior signal caller Carson Beck played his first starting season in 2023, completing 72.4% of his passes for 3,941 passing yards and 24 touchdowns. He also added over 100 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. This quarterback class is pretty weak all around, but Beck provides a spark of potential. Here is a quick scouting report on him. Beginning simply, his measurables are pretty damn good for a prospect. He's 6'4", 220 pounds with a well-built out frame. One of Beck's most touted traits is his IQ and ability to make the easy pass. He's able to use good pocket presence and field vision to work around rushers and deliver passes with a crisp and quick release. He's got good processing ability and knows when to not force a pass and just deliver a check down. He's got the arm strength to swiftly deliver passes into tight gaps. He's got the athleticism to escape the pocket and make plays on the run. And overall, he's got a lot of NFL-worthy traits for teams to work with. When it comes to the downside of things, I think he has more than some people think. And that begins with the accuracy part of things. Sure, he's completed a very good rate of his passes, but when he's forced to improvise due to unforeseen changes, he leaves balls behind receivers and is just inaccurate overall. But he isn't forced to do that much because of his fantastic offensive line. He also doesn't have that next level arm strength to consistently deliver passes deep. And when I was watching film on Beck from 2023, I noticed something. He often passes up the deep ball for something more simple. This makes me question something huge. Is Beck just not confident in himself, or does he know what he cannot do well? Either way, consistently passing up on those opportunities is a little concerning in itself. But that's all I have to say about Beck. The skill positions all have something to contribute to the draft rankings, which can easily help raise Beck's stock. Let's start with the running backs. As for a team that calls themselves RBU, they've really disappointed in that department over the last couple of seasons. This upcoming season, they could go back to their day 2 selections, but they need to utilize as much potential as possible. Trevor Etienne is ranked inside the top 100, but his production has not been anything special. He lacks that deep speed and open field vision to be too impactful, but he does have some phenomenal contact balance, physicality, and all-around versatility to flash some heavy upside as a starting running back in the NFL. If there's any team that can utilize that upside, it's the Georgia Bulldogs. As for the starting wide receivers, they're betting on an incoming transfer according to the consensus big board. Colby Young, a 6'5" senior coming in from Miami, has produced well over his last 2 seasons with the Canes, but nothing too impressive to be considered a big name in college football. Despite that, his elite combination of athleticism and size, along with his natural capabilities to play wide receiver, bring him extremely high upside as he joins the Dogs. Their other 2 starting wide receivers are former transfers, and after both of them had 1 year stuck in the depth chart, they also bring in a lot of upside. Beginning with Ra Thomas, a former Mississippi State transfer who went for nearly 900 yards and 12 touchdowns with them, but only 300 yards and 1 touchdown with the Dogs. He's got the athleticism that shows all around the field, and he's got the potential to be a 3-level threat in 2024. He's the lowest ranked starting receiver despite that. Ranked higher is Dominic Lovett, who was a starting receiver last season but was Beck's number 4 option in a core including 3 new NFL players. He's an effective slot receiver who looks best as a medium target, as his athleticism and route running abilities make him a fun guy to monitor in 2024. Will he become Beck's number 1 target? Only time will tell. Then we move on to the tight end group, who have heavy shoes to fill after the departure of first-round pick Brock Bowers. Despite that, a former 4-star recruit definitely has the opportunities and upside to do what Bowers did. I'm talking about Oscar Delp, who was actually really good in the games where Brock Bowers wasn't playing. He has a lot of similar traits to Bowers, including his ability to play multiple roles in an offense. But he's best with the ball in his hands, as he can get open and impact as an open field threat, just like Bowers. He just doesn't have the insane production from every season of his career. What I'm basically saying is, watch out for Delp, as he can really improve his stock in 2024. Moving on to the offensive line, which, as I said earlier, is really good. Every starter on this O-line is eligible for the 2025 NFL Draft, and 3 of them are currently ranked inside the draft order on Mock Draft Database. Here they are from left to right. At left tackle, we have a guy who is likely going to be scouted as a guard at the next level. Ernest Green III doesn't have the athleticism or the lateral ability to keep up at tackle, but he does have the leverage and the physicality to be a force in both the pass game and the run game. Even if the position switch has to happen, he's still highly ranked on Mock Draft Database at 35th. Number 35 is the highest ranked Bulldog on this offensive line, but someone is super close and they're coming up soon. In the meantime, at left guard is Dylan Fairchild, a guy who missed out on the current draft order by 3 spots. He actually has better athleticism than Green, as he pops off the line very well and can get upfield to efficiently make second-level blocks. Combine that with his great ability to transition between blocks, and you have a very solid interior prospect. At center is the lowest ranked guy on this offensive line, and that is Jared Wilson. While he doesn't have a bunch of starting experience, he did see some good snaps when filling in for the injured Cedric Van Pran last season. He works best as a run blocker, where he can use his great knockback ability and hand technique to drive defensive tackles backwards. At right guard, we return to the best of the best with Tate Ratledge, who was ranked as the 3rd best interior offensive lineman in this class. He's got some of the best physicality you can ask for in a prospect, as he uses that and his leverage to his advantage by basically throwing rushers to the ground. With well over 1,500 snaps over the last 2 seasons, he's already on the map. And to wrap up the offensive line, we have another starting tackle who is likely a guard at the next level. Xavier Truss is a 6'7" physical freak who also thrives on physicality. On top of that though, he has developing athletic traits, and if he can get those developed well in 2024, he might actually be a good tackle prospect coming out of college. Well, there you have it. The Georgia Bulldogs have 7 offensive prospects ranked inside the top 224 on Mock Draft Database. But we're just getting started. Let's dive into the defense, shall we? As we discuss the defense, I will go from level to discuss them. When the Bulldogs originally broke the draftee record in 2022, 8 of their 15 picks were on the defensive side of the ball. And that doesn't even include Keely Ringo, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. all being high impact players who were on that 2021 defense. I'm going to go over this team in a 4-3-4 style, as they do have a unique defensive scheme that would be hard to go over normally. Which means we begin with the defensive line, and we begin with Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. He's able to impact as both a pass rusher and a run defender, primarily as a run defender with his fantastic lateral ability to cover several gaps. His explosiveness and pass rush arsenal both definitely still shine nonetheless. And we get into the first of 2 draftable prospects on this defensive line. And this one is looking to impact, and impact hard. I'm talking about Nazir Stackhouse, who is returning for a 5th season to hopefully improve his draft stock. He's a fantastic run defender who plugs gaps at high levels and uses physicality to move blockers to where he wants to plug. He could use heavy improvements as a pass rusher, but he's got a full season to do so. We return to the non-draftees with Warren Brinson. He logged his first 4 career starts in his 4th season last year, and with a 5th season coming up, he's got time to improve his stock and even get a draft profile on Mock Draft Database. He's a good run plugger, and while he's not as elite as Stackhouse in run defense, he adds on better pass rush production and efficiency. Speaking of elite, let's get into some elite territory. The Bulldogs have 3 projected first-round picks, and one of them is Mykel Williams. Williams has been going number 1 in some mock drafts, and that's because he's such a high-impact defensive lineman. As a pass rusher, he's got both the arsenal and the footwork to expose offensive linemen and explode past them, sometimes with ease. As a run defender, he uses his lateral ability and physicality to plug gaps to take on rushers head on, also sometimes with ease. The Dogs have produced some elite defensive linemen, and Williams looks to be the next one on that tree. The next level of defense is also elite, especially at the college level. All 3 of these linebackers are draft eligible this upcoming year, and honestly, they all should get drafted. This begins with Smail Mondon Jr., who would have been drafted in 2024 if it wasn't for him returning to school. He's a great coverage linebacker who will bring a bunch of starting experience for one of the best defensive programs in all of college football. His instincts, speed, and lateral agility are some of his best traits as a potential day 2 selection. The Our Lads depth chart has CJ Allen as the starting money linebacker, but I'm going to switch it up and actually use backup Jalen Walker. He's also a projected day 2 pick, and he's going to bring scouts in with his top-notch ability to blitz the quarterback from the linebacker position. If he gets starting snaps this season, he could be someone to watch for as a potential first-round pick in 2025. This linebacker is shockingly not on Mock Draft Database at all, and he should be, as he is very intriguing. He is also the complete opposite of Jalen Walker. I'm talking about Chaz Chambliss, a senior linebacker who is huge at 6'2", 250 pounds. He actually functions best as a run defender, as he's great at finding gaps and initiating contact with the running back. He only missed 7.7% of his tackles last season, and his playstyle reminds me a lot of what I saw in Junior Colson last season. For a reminder, Colson was my number 1 linebacker in the 2024 NFL Draft. As we breeze through the linebackers, it's time to talk about this defensive back group where we have another first-round projected prospect. But he's in the safety group. Let's begin this section with the cornerback room, which is, pretty damn good. The first cornerback to discuss is a high upside player in Julian Humphrey, and I say high upside because we haven't really seen much of him yet. The former top 100 prospect has played well in both man and zone coverage, where he can use both his ability to stay in stride with receivers and his good zone instincts to be super scheme versatile at the next level. After Humphrey is Dalen Everett, who unlike Humphrey, has seen a good chunk of starting experience in this defense. He is fantastic as a man corner, as his lateral ability and deep speed allow for him to go stride for stride with most receivers. While he is still a bit raw, one more year of starting experience should sharpen him up and make him a day 2 selection in 2025. And now we get into the safety room, where I introduce you to quite possibly the best coverage safety prospect since Minkah Fitzpatrick. That safety is Malachi Starks, who is currently ranked as the best safety and the 14th overall prospect. He's an extremely fluid safety who can function well out of man as a result, but he can impact in zone-heavy schemes as well. Honestly, add press schemes to that too. This safety can really play in any scheme as long as it involves him being in coverage. The results just speak for themselves. And even outside of that, Starks can impact as a run defender because of his explosiveness and physicality. But we take a step backwards when we talk about safety Dan Jackson. It's unfortunate that the Dogs don't have a better complement for Starks, but Jackson did get some solid starting reps back in 2021. Despite that, Jackson likely won't get drafted unless he can prove that he's at least a good rotational option for the NFL. And that's a wrap on the Georgia Bulldogs. There were a lot of prospects that I just talked about, so let me run down the 13 prospects that the Georgia Bulldogs have ranked inside the current draft order. Quarterback Carson Beck ranked 3rd. Safety Malachi Starks ranked 14th. Defensive lineman Michael Williams ranked 22nd. Offensive lineman Ernest Green ranked 35th. Offensive lineman Tate Ratledge ranked 57th. Linebacker Smale Munden Jr. ranked 62nd. Cornerback Dalen Everett ranked 76th. Defensive lineman Nazir Stackhouse ranked 79th. Running back Trevor Etienne ranked 91st. Tight end Oscar Delp ranked 98th. Linebacker Jalen Walker ranked 99th. Wide receiver Colby Young ranked 171st. And offensive lineman Xavier Truss ranked 172nd. Well, that was my report on the 2024 Georgia Bulldogs. Do you think they will break the draftee record? Let me know in the comments section below. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.